Black Friday isn't just wicked discounts and violent crowd-gathering sales. It's actually a holiday tradition built upon much more sinister roots than you might imagine. What's now become a chaotic yet beloved day after Thanksgiving extravaganza was, in truth, born out of a panicky financial crisis, intimidating riots, and police nuisances. Over time, that negativity was twisted by retailers, and now all over the world, we spend our hard-earned cash on a holiday that's full of myths, controversy, and misleading sales. So how did we get to this point? And why is it even called Black Friday in the first place? It's no secret that we like to splurge when the holidays roll around. Across America, we spend, on average, a whopping $1,007.24 over the holiday season, totaling close to $717.5 billion, according to the National Retail Federation. A lot of that money comes from Thanksgiving weekend, a time that sees over 135 million Americans head to the stores in search of price slashes and salivating bargains. How much exactly? According to the Washington Post, $335 per person during that 5-day period of absolute chaos between Thanksgiving Day and Cyber Monday. Any guesses as to who forks out the most? Yup, latte-sippin' millennials, of course. Our tech-obsessed generation shells out an average of $420 per person, with over 50% spending their hard-earned cash online as opposed to in-store. That's fair enough, too, considering the wicked crowds, overwhelming stampedes, and violence. But we'll touch on that a little later. To trace the origins of this chaotic custom, we have to wind the clock over 150 years ago. September 24th, 1869 was the first time we heard that famous moniker, Black Friday. But it actually had nothing to do with sales or retail at all. It did, however, have an awful lot to do with money, or rather, the lack thereof, because that date played host to a troublesome financial crisis on Wall Street. Due to the actions of two men, Jay Gould and Jim Fisk, that September Friday sent the stock market into a dismal freefall, causing everyone from Wall Street fat cats to middle-class farmers to come face-to-face with bankruptcy. How'd they do it? They went out and bought all of the nation's gold that they could get their hands on, hoping to drive up the mineral's price and sell it for profits that would see them walk away astonishingly rich. Thanks to the disruption of gold prices, the other commodity prices took a 50% tumble and people panicked hard. Fast forward to the mid-1950s, where the Black Friday term would take another sour turn over in Philadelphia this time. This is where the Thanksgiving connection started to gain wind. Every year, an enormous football game between the U.S. Army and the U.S. Navy was held on the Saturday following Thanksgiving. This was no kick in the backyard. It was a massive spectacle that drew hordes of tourists into the city of brotherly love. It was actually the police that started referring to this football game day as Black Friday, and that was peppered with negativity. The cops hated it. Due to the influx of people, not only would the Philly cops not be able to take the day off work to watch the game, but they were also forced to work extra long shifts to deal with the intense crowds and traffic. On top of that, more people often means more problems, and shoplifters had an absolute field day amidst all of the chaos, raiding storefronts and pickpocketing with ease. From 1961, Black Friday had stuck, but for now, only in Philly. There were plenty of attempts to change it to Big Friday to add a positive spin, but clearly the idea never got off the ground. Then, in the late 1980s, retailers found a way to add some positivity to Black Friday. They came up with the red to black concept, which stemmed from their accounting books. If end-of-the-year revenue for a business was an overall loss, the numbers were in red, but if there was a profit made, the numbers were in black. There are plenty of inaccurate opinions about the name's origin. Some, for instance, tie it to the 1929 stock market crash. However, there was no way it could have been a source of Black Friday. Why? Because that happened on a Tuesday. Regardless of the name or how it arose, the retailers in Philadelphia were still faced with uncontrollable chaos, crowds, and shoplifting before the annual game. And as the years and the decades went by and Black Friday spread around the nation, the intense crowds would only increase. Trying to combat this, retailers made their opening times on Black Friday earlier and earlier to spread out the crowds, although finding little success. Then, taking it one step further, retailers such as Kmart decided to open their doors the night before, dubbed Black Thursday. Alas, it's fair to say that it hasn't caught on like its Friday counterpart. Now that you know where the name really did come from, we can weed out some of the widely believed Black Friday myths. Word has gone around claiming that back in the 1800s, plantations in the country's south had their own version of Black Friday. A tale which suggested that on the day after Thanksgiving, plantation owners could buy slaves at a discount. Even though there is a little truth to this, those who took the bait were understandably outraged, with some even calling for a boycott of the retail bonanza. Most of us think that Black Friday offers record-breaking deals, but that's not quite true either. It's actually far from the case. According to a Shop Advisor report, the discounts in reality become more attractive as Christmas draws nearer, showing that average discounts on the days leading up to Christmas outweighed Black Friday deals, some with up to 3 times more savings. The report also found that 42% of products were priced lower in the 4 weeks leading up to Black Friday as opposed to the actual day. So you might find a truly awesome bargain on a TV at 70% off in-store, but all the other goodies you're convinced to buy in that moment, those so-called filler deals, are hiked up in price. So overall, you might not even be saving a dime. Deceptive, isn't it? Furthermore, while we do see the chaos and crowds on the news, contrary to popular belief, Black Friday is not the busiest shopping day of the year either. While it does bring in enormous amounts of revenue, it still doesn't take the title as the #1 shopping day. That instead would be the Saturday before Christmas, which has developed a nickname of its own, Super Saturday. Even though Super Saturday might be officially the busiest shopping day of the calendar year, it doesn't draw in the same amount of attention as Black Friday. Part of the reason for the immense media spotlight is, unfortunately, the violence. And lots of it, for that matter. We have seen a 73-year-old woman knocked down and stepped on in BrandSmart in Sawgrass Mills, Florida, after crowds impatiently surged into a store. We have seen a woman and her elderly mother assaulted by other shoppers as soon as the doors opened at a Kohl's store in Jackson, Tennessee. We have seen a 2,000-person stampede at a Long Island Walmart in 2008 that resulted in an employee being trampled. We've seen 2 grown adults get into a weapon-wielding duel at a California Toys R Us after fighting over the last toy on the shelf, both of whom died. And we've even seen a 61-year-old man named Walter Vance perish after being ignored as he lay on the floor of a West Virginia Target with a heart condition, as countless customers simply walked around him on their way to find bargains. It's terrible, and with so much chaos, it's often hard to keep track, isn't it? Well, someone is doing it for us. There's actually a website dedicated to the deaths and injuries of Black Friday. Of course, the media does escalate these events, and plenty of them are totally unrelated or coincidental, so do take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Obviously, some places are more dangerous than others on Black Friday. According to a study from reviews.org, the states at the highest risk of Black Friday violence are Arkansas, Tennessee, West Virginia, North Carolina, and Alabama. And if there's one particular place to avoid at all costs, it's the South Park neighborhood of Charlotte, North Carolina, officially the most trafficked area in the United States on Black Friday. On the flip side, you'll be safest over in Vermont, Oregon, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin when the sales roll around. So, as you can see, Black Friday has spread like wildfire across the U.S., in our traditional brick-and-mortar stores as well as online. But is America the only place to endorse this strange holiday retail tradition? Absolutely not. In fact, everywhere from Germany to France, Mexico, India, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Romania, and Canada have some form of the retail bonanza on offer to budget-savvy customers. Over in Australia, where Thanksgiving isn't celebrated, it was actually Apple who started the tradition back in 2013 by offering free iTunes vouchers with online purchases on Black Friday. Don't confuse this with Black Saturday, however. That commemorates deadly bushfires that hit up southeastern Australia back in 2009. Meanwhile, over in the United Arab Emirates, the tradition was brought over in 2014 but was instead dubbed White Friday, in respect to Friday being the day of worship in the Arab world. As for over in the United Kingdom, they used to call the Friday before Christmas Black Friday, simply because the police had to increase their workload to deal with all the people going out drinking. And well, that's all we've got for you on Black Friday. Would you thrust yourself into that madness? Let us know in the comments. Hey, make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Happy shopping.